A seed is such a small thing, so tiny, you can hold hundreds in the palm of your hand. But if you plant it in the right soil, give it water, give it sunlight, give it time, it will grow into something you could never imagine from just looking at it. That's how powerful a seed is. And your thoughts are no different. Every single thought you allow to take root in your mind is a seed. And the question you have to ask yourself is, what kind of seeds am I planting? Because whatever you plant, you will eventually harvest. If you plant seeds of fear, your harvest will be hesitation. If you plant seeds of doubt, your harvest will be regret. But if you plant seeds of belief, your harvest will be courage, resilience, and victory. Some of you are frustrated with the fruit you're seeing in your life, but you're not paying attention to the seeds you're dropping into the ground of your mind every single day. You can't plant negativity all week long and expect to harvest joy on Sunday. You can't fill your mind with limitations, with I can't, with I'll never, and then expect to wake up to a future that's filled with freedom and possibility. The law of the harvest is this: you reap what you sow. And it doesn't just apply to the earth. It applies to your mind. Let me make it plain. If you walk around saying to yourself, I'm not enough, I don't have what it takes, people like me don't win, don't be surprised when life starts reflecting those very thoughts back to you. You're building a life that matches the blueprint in your mind. On the other hand, if you start saying to yourself, I am capable, I am strong, I am chosen for something greater, those words take root. They push through the soil, they grow, and soon enough, they begin to bear fruit that not only changes your life, but touches the lives of everyone around you. Think about it. The tallest tree you've ever seen, the most beautiful garden you've ever walked through, the strongest oak that has stood for centuries, all of it started as a seed, just a little seed, hidden in the dark, unseen, unnoticed. Within that seed was everything it needed to become what it was destined to be. Your thoughts are the same. They may start small, invisible to everyone else, but inside each thought is the potential to shape the entire course of your life. The question is, will you nurture the seeds that give life or the ones that destroy it? Some of you have been carrying seeds that somebody else planted in you. A cruel word spoken years ago. A label somebody threw at you. A lie you believed because it came from someone you trusted. Those seeds took root, and now you see their fruit in the way you second-guess yourself, the way you settle for less, the way you shrink back from opportunities. But hear me, just because somebody else planted, it doesn't mean you have to water it. You can dig up those weeds and plant something new. You can decide today that the only seeds that will grow in your mind are the seeds of belief, faith, and vision. You want to change your future. Start by changing your thoughts. Stop focusing on the weeds and start planting a new garden in your mind. Every affirmation you speak, every time you choose faith over fear, every time you replace I can't with I will, you're dropping seeds into the ground. And maybe you won't see the harvest tomorrow, maybe not even next week, But if you stay consistent, if you keep planting, if you keep watering, the fruit will come. And when it does, it will be bigger, stronger, and more abundant than you ever imagined. I need you to understand that belief is not just wishful thinking. It's the soil where your destiny takes root. Without belief, the seed of your dream cannot grow. Without belief, your vision cannot survive the storms. Without belief, the garden of your life will stay barren. But when you decide to believe, when you hold on to that belief, even when everything around you looks impossible, that's when things begin to shift. That's when doors open. That's when opportunities show up. That's when what seemed dead suddenly comes alive again. So don't just watch your thoughts. Plant them with intention. Speak life, speak strength, speak possibility. And when the doubts creep in, and they will, you remind yourself that those doubts are just weeds, and weeds don't belong in your garden. Pull them out, throw them away, and keep on planting seeds of belief, because one day you'll look around at the life you're living and realize it all started with a single seed, one small thought, one shift in your mind, one belief that you dared to plant, water, and protect until it became the harvest of your future. So let me ask you, what seeds are you planting today? When you look at your life and the direction it's heading, you have to understand that the steering wheel is in your hands. Your circumstances may not always be your choice, but your response to them always is. The way you think about what happens to you determines whether you stay stuck in the past or rise into your future. You cannot control every storm, but you can control whether you build a shelter or let yourself drown. That choice begins with your thoughts, because your thoughts shape your perspective, and your perspective shapes your actions. Two people can walk through the same fire, but one walks out stronger while the other gives up. The difference is not in the fire, it's in the mindset. One saw the fire as the end. The other saw it as the beginning. One said, "This is where I fall," and the other said, "This is where I rise." That's the power of perspective, and it all begins inside your mind. Think about the times you've faced obstacles, challenges that look bigger than you, heavier than you, maybe even impossible to overcome if you focused only on the problem. It felt like a wall you couldn't climb. But if you shifted your mind to see possibility, to see growth, to see a lesson hidden inside the pain, suddenly that wall didn't look so high anymore. You started looking for footholds, for ropes, for ladders, and eventually you found a way over. That's the power of changing your perspective. The problem didn't shrink, but your vision expanded. It's easy to let life trick you into believing you're powerless. It's easy to let a setback convince you that you've lost your chance. But hear me, a setback is only permanent if you let your thoughts make it so. If you tell yourself, "This is the end," then you'll stop moving. But if you tell yourself, "This is a lesson, this is a setup for something greater," then you'll keep pressing forward until you see what was waiting on the other side. The difference between being stuck and moving forward is not luck, it's not chance, it's perspective. Some people stay trapped in cycles because they've convinced themselves that this is all there will ever be. They rehearse defeat in their minds until it becomes the only script they know. But others, facing the same situations, rehearse possibility. They feed their minds with vision, with hope, with determination. And because of that, they break through the same barriers that kept others trapped. Your mind is like a lens. Whatever you focus it on, that's what becomes sharp and clear, while everything else fades into the background. If you focus only on what's wrong, that's all you'll see. But if you choose to focus on what's possible, you'll begin to notice doors you never saw before. Opportunities that were always there, but hidden by your perspective. It doesn't mean the pain disappears. It doesn't mean the struggle isn't real. It means you refuse to let the struggle define you. You decide that the fire will refine you, not consume you. And understand this, your perspective doesn't just affect you. It affects everyone around you. A parent who chooses hope instead of despair raises children who believe in possibility. A leader who chooses vision instead of fear inspires a team to rise beyond limits. A friend who chooses encouragement instead of negativity can change the direction of someone else's life with just a word. When you shift your perspective, you don't just change your future. You become a light that helps others change theirs too. There are people in this room right now who have been living under the shadow of old thoughts, replaying old failures, repeating old labels. You've been looking at your life through the lens of not enough. And because of that, you can't see the abundance waiting for you. But the moment you change that lens, the moment you start telling yourself, I am worthy, I am capable, I am destined, everything starts to look different. Opportunities that once looked impossible begin to look attainable. Mountains that once looked immovable begin to look climbable. Not because the mountain changed, but because you did. And the beauty of it is, you don't have to wait for tomorrow. You don't have to wait until conditions are perfect. You can shift your perspective right now. You can decide in this very moment that you will no longer see life through the eyes of defeat, but through the eyes of possibility. Because once you do, your steps will follow your sight. And where your sight goes, your life goes. So ask yourself tonight, what lens are you looking through? And is it showing you the life you truly want to live? There is something powerful about the company you keep. The people around you are not just background characters in your story. They are voices that influence your thoughts, mirrors that reflect your choices, and sometimes anchors that either hold you steady or weigh you down. You can't expect to soar like an eagle if you keep running with chickens. You can't expect to rise higher when the circle around you is pulling you lower. That doesn't mean you don't love people. It doesn't mean you think you're better. It means you recognize the impact that environment has on your destiny. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, don't be surprised when your vision begins to shrink. If the people you call friends always speak fear, doubt, and excuses, It's only a matter of time before their voice starts to sound like your own. And if you surround yourself with mediocrity, your greatness will start to feel like a burden instead of a gift. That's why you have to be careful, because who you walk with is shaping who you're becoming. Think about it. Iron sharpens iron, but dullness dulls everything it touches. If you want to sharpen your life, you need people who push you, challenge you, and believe in you even when you stumble. You need people who remind you that you're capable, even when you forget. But if your circle is filled with gossip, laziness, and small thinking, don't expect to rise above it, because energy is contagious, and whether you like it or not, you will catch it. There are moments when you have to step back and ask yourself, who am I listening to? Who am I giving my time to? Who has influence over my decisions, my confidence, my dreams? And sometimes the honest answer hurts. Sometimes it reveals that the ones closest to you are the ones limiting you. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means they may not be the right people for the season you're stepping into. Growth requires separation. You can't plant yourself in toxic soil and expect healthy fruit. And it's not about cutting people off with bitterness. It's about recognizing that not everyone can go with you where you're going. Some relationships are temporary lessons, not lifelong partnerships. Some voices are meant to teach you what you don't need, not guide you toward what you do. The moment you accept that, you give yourself permission to align with people who fuel your fire instead of extinguish it. But it's not only about removing the wrong people. It's about seeking the right ones. Surround yourself with dreamers, with doors, with people who carry vision bigger than themselves. Surround yourself with those who celebrate your wins without jealousy and challenge your excuses without apology. Surround yourself with people who don't just clap for your potential, but demand that you live up to it. That's when you'll find yourself lifted higher than you thought possible. And sometimes it's not about finding a large circle. It's about finding the right one. Better to have 3 people who truly believe in your growth than 30 who are silently hoping you'll fail. Better to walk alone with your integrity intact than to be surrounded by a crowd that leads you away from your purpose. Loneliness with clarity is better than company with compromise. The truth is, you're either being influenced or you're influencing. And if you're not intentional about who speaks into your life, you'll unknowingly let the wrong voices shape your future. Don't hand the pen of your story to someone who doesn't even know how to write their own. Don't let people who gave up on their dreams convince you to give up on yours. Protect your mind, protect your spirit, protect your vision. Because once you let the wrong people plant seeds, you'll spend years fighting to undo what they've sown. When you decide to choose your circle carefully, everything shifts. Your confidence grows because you're no longer surrounded by doubt. Your vision sharpens because you're surrounded by people who see beyond the limits. Your discipline strengthens because you've got others holding you accountable. That's when you realize the power of influence It can either drain you or drive you. So ask yourself, who's in your circle? Who are you giving access to your heart, your mind, your future? And more importantly, are they helping you rise? Or are they keeping you small? Because the truth is, you're better than small. You're built for something greater. And if you're willing to protect your circle, you'll protect your destiny. So I leave you with this. If you want to go higher, if you want to step into everything that's waiting for you, don't just watch your habits, watch your company. And if you feel that truth stirring in you right now, let me ask, are you ready to choose your circle wisely? There comes a point in life when you realize that the direction of your future is not controlled by outside forces, but by the vision you carry on the inside. The mind is a powerful place. And what you see in your thoughts has the power to become what you hold in your hands. If your thoughts are small, your life will be small. If your vision is limited, your opportunities will be limited. But when you dare to think bigger, when you dare to see more for yourself than where you are right now, doors begin to open that you never even knew existed. Some people never step into their full potential because they spend too much time looking in the rearview mirror. They replay their failures, their regrets, their mistakes. They allow the past to keep them chained to an old identity. But if you want your future to change, you've got to change what you see in your mind. You've got to shift your thoughts from what was to what can be. The past is a lesson, not a life sentence. It was meant to shape you, not define you. And when you begin to think differently about where you're headed, you create space for something new to grow. The future is not some far-off thing. It begins right here in your thoughts. Every invention, every movement, every breakthrough this world has ever seen began as a thought in someone's mind. And the difference between those who remain stuck and those who rise is the willingness to believe that thought can become reality. That belief requires courage because it's easier to think ordinary. It's easier to settle into the comfort of average. But extraordinary results demand extraordinary thinking. You've got to train your mind to rise above doubt. Train your thoughts to resist the pull of fear. Because if you don't control your thoughts will control you. They will whisper lies about what you can't do, what you'll never have, who you'll never become. And if you agree with those lies, they'll shape your choices, and your choices will shape your future. But if you learn to fight back with a new mindset, with thoughts of possibility, of strength, of vision, then you begin to break free from the limits that have held you down. There's a reason why the most successful people aren't always the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who refuse to let their minds shrink to the size of their circumstances. They think beyond their present reality. They see themselves walking through doors before the doors even exist. They imagine possibilities that others are too afraid to dream. That's the power of a renewed mind. It allows you to live in the future before it even arrives. But thinking bigger isn't just about success in the sense of money or status. It's about seeing more for your life in every area. It's about believing you deserve healthy relationships, believing you can live with peace, believing you can find purpose, believing you can contribute something meaningful to this world. Too many people settle for brokenness because they can't see beyond it. They've convinced themselves that struggle is their permanent address. But when you change your thoughts, you change your expectations. And when your expectations change, your behavior follows. The mind is like soil. It will grow whatever you plant in it. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and negativity, don't be surprised when you reap frustration and failure. But if you plant seeds of belief, discipline, and vision, you'll start to see a harvest of progress and fulfillment. It is way. You don't have to wait until everything around you looks different to start thinking differently. You start with the thought, and then the thought shapes the reality. And yes, it takes discipline every single day. You have to guard your mind like it's the most valuable possession you have, because it is. You don't allow just anything to take root. You choose what to feed it. You choose what to focus on. You choose what to release. And when you do little by little, you'll begin to notice the shift. That once impossible dream doesn't feel so impossible anymore. That once blurry vision becomes clear. And what once felt out of reach starts to feel like destiny. The world will try to tell you who you are. Circumstances will try to box you in. People will try to project their limitations onto your life. But none of that has power unless you accept it in your mind. The moment you refuse to agree with their version of your future and begin to write your own in your thoughts, you step into freedom. You step into possibility. You step into the version of yourself you were created to be. So the question becomes, what are you thinking about right now? What picture of your future do you carry when you close your eyes? Because that picture is shaping the road ahead. And if you're tired of repeating the same cycles, if you're ready to walk into something new, then it begins with one choice. Change your thoughts and watch how your future begins to change with them. Are you ready to make that shift today? Life will always present you with challenges, but the real question is how you respond when those challenges come. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you think about it. That's the difference between people who stay stuck and people who rise higher. Two people can face the same storm, but one walks out stronger while the other remains broken. It's not about the storm. It's about the mindset they carried into it. You see, adversity has a way of testing what you've been feeding your mind. If you've been feeding your thoughts with fear, doubt, and negativity, then when trouble comes, that's exactly what will come out. But if you've been training your mind to see beyond the problem, to focus on solutions, to believe that every setback carries a lesson, then adversity becomes a teacher instead of a thief. It doesn't steal your future, it shapes it. Think about this. Pressure reveals strength. Diamonds aren't created in comfort. They're formed under intense pressure. And in the same way, your trials are shaping you, pressing out weakness forcing out excuses and demanding you rise into your potential. But none of that matters if your mind isn't prepared to see it that way. If you only see pain, you'll miss the growth. If you only see loss, you'll miss the gain. If you only see struggle, you'll miss the strength being built inside you. Some people let difficulties define them. They say, this is just who I am. I'll never get past this. I'll never recover. And because they believe that thought, it becomes their truth. But others take the same hardship and decide, this is not the end of me. This is the making of me. That's the power of thought. That's the power of deciding to reframe the situation. You may not choose the battle, but you can choose how you fight it. I want you to understand something. Every negative thought you entertain in the middle of adversity is like pouring water on the fire of your future. It weakens your ability to keep moving forward. But every positive, resilient, determined thought is like fuel to that fire. It keeps it burning, even when the wind is against you. That's why discipline of the mind is so critical. You can't just let yours wander when life hits hard. You've got to take control. You've got to remind yourself, I've survived storms before, and I'll survive this one. I've overcome battles before, and I'll overcome this one. The truth is, you are stronger than you think. But strength doesn't show up until it's required. You don't know the depth of your courage until life forces you to dig deep. And when you decide to see adversity not as an end but as an opportunity, you begin to unlock a resilience that was always in you, waiting to be discovered. I've seen people who went through losses that should have crushed them. People who went through setbacks that looked like the finish line. And yet, because they shifted their mindset, they used that pain as fuel. They built businesses after losing jobs. They rebuilt families after being broken. They found purpose after tragedy. And all of it began not with a miracle from the outside, but with a transformation on the inside. They changed their thoughts, and in doing so, they changed their outcome. Life doesn't get easier. It demands that you get stronger. And strength starts in the mind. The moment you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? You change the entire atmosphere of your situation. Suddenly, what was meant to destroy you becomes the very thing that develops you. And let me remind you, adversity is temporary. It may feel heavy right now, but it's not forever. It may feel like it's defining your story, but it's only writing a chapter. And what comes after this chapter is determined by the mindset you choose today. Will you let the hardship break your spirit, or will you let it build your character? So when the storms come, and they will, don't waste your energy trying to avoid them. Use them. Let them teach you. Let them shape you. Let them remind you of your capacity. Because the greatest victories don't come from easy roads. They come from battles that tested you, pushed you, and forced you to rise higher than you ever thought you could. So I'll ask you, when adversity knocks on your door, how will you answer? Will you let it take from you, or will you let it transform you? The choice is in your hands, And it begins with your thoughts. What's your choice going to be? There comes a time in life when you have to realize that your habits are either carrying you forward or quietly pulling you backward. Every thought you entertain, every action you repeat, every choice you make, whether big or small, is shaping the path you're walking on. Some people wonder why they feel stuck, why nothing changes, why their dreams remain out of reach. But if you look closely, it's not always the big storms that hold them back. It's the small habits, repeated day after day, that slowly build a cage around their lives. If you wake up each morning feeding your mind with doubt, telling yourself you can't, you won't, or you're not enough, you're laying bricks on that cage. If you surround yourself with negativity, scrolling endlessly, wasting hours on distractions, you're tightening the bars. If you allow procrastination to whisper in your ear, telling you tomorrow when you know it should be today, you're locking the door. And the longer you repeat those patterns, the harder it feels to break free. But make no mistake, you have the power to change those habits. And when you do, you change the direction of your life. Greatness is not built in a single leap. It's built in small, consistent steps. Just as failure doesn't come from one mistake, but from the repetition of giving in. Success is crafted through daily decisions. Think about it. If you commit yourself to reading a page a day, learning one new thing, taking one step toward your dream over time, you will have traveled farther than the one who waited for the perfect moment that never came. Progress is built in inches, not miles, and it starts with the habits you practice when no one is watching. We often admire the result, but forget the routine. People look at someone who has achieved greatness and think it happened overnight. They think it was luck or talent or chance. But what they don't see are the early mornings, the late nights, the quiet sacrifices, the countless repetitions of doing what needed to be done long after the excitement wore off. Discipline is the bridge between thought and reality. Without it, dreams remain dreams. With it, those dreams take shape. The hardest part is not starting, it's staying. Anybody can start a new habit on day one. Anybody can feel motivated when the vision is fresh and the goal feels exciting. But the real test comes on day 20, day 50, day 100, when the feelings fade and only discipline remains. That's when your mind tries to convince you to quit, when the temptation to return to comfort grows louder. And that's where you decide who you really are. Do you stay the same, or do you push through? Do you go back to the cage, or do you keep walking toward the freedom waiting ahead? The truth is, you can't cheat consistency. You can't wish your way into the future you want. You build it one decision at a time. You build it by saying no to what doesn't serve you and yes to what does, even when it's not easy. You build it by replacing habits that drain you with habits that feed you. Replacing fear with faith, laziness with discipline, distraction with focus. And when you repeat those choices day after day, they stop being struggles and start being second nature. That's when you know you've transformed not just your actions, but yourself. Every single one of us has habits we need to break and habits we need to build. Maybe for you, it's letting go of toxic relationships that keep you doubting yourself. Maybe it's turning off the noise of comparison so you can focus on your own lane. Maybe it's pushing away excuses and finally showing up for the vision that's been tugging at your heart for years. Whatever it is, know this: you have the strength to shift it. You have the ability to rewrite your routine. And when you do, everything changes. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to transform your life in a single day. Start with one choice, one step, one habit. Replace one negative thought with a positive one. Trade one wasted hour for one invested in your growth. Do it today, and then again tomorrow, and then again the day after that. Before long, you'll look back and realize you're no longer trapped in the same patterns. You've built new ones. Patterns of growth, patterns of purpose, patterns of success. And the beauty of it is this: if you're willing to stay consistent, the small victories compound. They build momentum. They carry you through seasons when motivation runs dry. And one day, where you'll wake up living in the future you once only imagined. Not because it fell into your lap, but because you built it with your own two hands, one habit at a time. So let me ask you, what habits are you going to keep? And which ones are you finally ready to change? There comes a moment in life when you realize that your environment is either pulling you forward or holding you back. The people you allow into your circle, the voices you listen to, the energy you entertain, they all shape your future more than you realize. You can have the strongest vision, the clearest plan, but if you surround yourself with negativity, with people who doubt, criticize, or settle, it's only a matter of time before you start shrinking to fit their expectations. Your thoughts are powerful, but they don't exist in isolation. They're constantly influenced by what you hear and see every day. If you spend your time around people who complain, who find problems for every solution, who always talk about what can't be done, those seeds take root in your own thinking. And soon, you'll find yourself echoing the same defeat, carrying the same fears, and making the same excuses. That's why it's so important to guard your environment, to protect your circle, and to be intentional about who you give access to your mind. Think about this. When you plant a seed, the soil matters. You can have the strongest seed in the world, but if the soil is poisoned, that seed will never reach its potential. Your mind is the seed, but your environment is the soil. And some of you have been trying to grow in soil that's too toxic to support your dreams. You keep wondering why you feel stuck, why progress seems impossible, why motivation fades so quickly. It's because the people and places around you are suffocating your growth. Now, let's be clear. Protecting your environment doesn't mean you cut people off without compassion, but it does mean you choose wisely who gets the closest seats in your life. Not everyone deserves front row access to your journey. Some belong in the balcony. Some don't belong in the room at all. And that's not arrogance. That's wisdom. because you can't afford to let someone else's negativity rewrite your story. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to think bigger, who see possibility when you only see obstacles, who remind you of your strength when you feel weak. The right voices will stretch you, sharpen you, and keep you accountable to your potential. And when your circle is filled with people who believe in growth, in resilience, in progress, it's almost impossible not to rise with them. But here's the thing. You also have to look at the environments you choose on your own. What are you feeding your mind every day? What kind of content do you consume? What conversations do you allow yourself to be part of? If all you're doing is feeding your spirit with fear, gossip, negativity, and doubt, you're setting yourself up for failure before you even begin. You have to be intentional about creating an environment that fuels your growth, even when nobody else is around. And let's not forget the energy of gratitude and faith. A grateful environment creates space for possibility. A hopeful environment makes room for solutions. You want to see your future change. Start by changing the atmosphere you live in daily. Create a space where positivity has room to grow. Build habits that protect your peace. Speak words that reinforce your vision. That's how you create an environment that supports transformation. Some of you are carrying dreams too heavy for the environment you're in. You're trying to build skyscrapers on weak foundations. And until you step out of the soil that's choking you and place yourself in an environment where you can thrive, you'll never see the full height of your potential. Don't let comfort keep you in the wrong place. Don't let loyalty keep you tied to the wrong people. Your growth is too important. Your future is too valuable. And when you start making those choices, when you choose your environment with wisdom, you'll notice a shift. Your thoughts will get clearer. Your energy will get stronger. Your vision will sharpen. And opportunities that once seemed out of reach will begin to open up, because you can't rise to your next level while staying tied to an atmosphere that belongs to your past. So let me ask you, what kind of soil are you planted in right now? Is it feeding your growth, or is it killing your dream? Are the voices around you building you up, or are they breaking you down? The environment you choose today will shape the future you step into tomorrow. So what's your choice going to be?